Start recording. Okay, here we are. It is another day. It's Friday today. We get a second Friday. Yesterday was also Friday. But today is another Friday. They're just making fun of me because I got the day wrong yesterday. But working from home, more advanced skill set. Yes, we're going to answer all these great questions as we get going on this day. We are starting a little bit early today on this August the 19th, right? Did I get that right? Friday the 19th. And we have a couple questions that have already come in, so I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. We are joined by Matt again on our virtual panel, and
Looks
another
like we got
invitation.
Ben here. I don't know if he wants to join in.
Who's that? Ben? I don't think Ben needs to raise his hand if he wants to. He's in the audience if he wants to join. I don't want to invite people who don't want to be here. But if you would like to join, just a reminder to everyone out there in Twitch land and YouTube land, if you want to join us on the panel to discuss some of these questions, every night, you have the option. You just have to come on stage in our Discord here, and if you behave, you can be on our panel, and anybody's welcome. All right, so let's jump into some of the questions, and I'm just going to read the more recent questions that came in today. So the first question says, kind of a long one, so I'm going to go ahead and read it. So my skip level, which I've come to understand is manager's manager, called me today and told me to work as intermediately between offshore team and another team. As intermediary, I think that's what that means. Let me change that. Intermediary, right? Not everybody speaks native English here, so I'm not going to hold it against them. He then moves to tell me that this is for your soft skills to be improved for the future. Is this a kind of carrot, or are they really thinking me to be a manager? Wow, that's a good one. I don't know. We got to ask the group this. Okay, so let me say it again. Let me see if I can read it faster. Manager for offshore team. So this person has been offered to be an intermediate manager, an intermediary, somebody who brokers conversation and work between an offshore team and another team, and the person offering the position says this could be good for you in the future for your soft skills. Is this a carrot, or are they really thinking of me possibly to be a manager? What do you think? Let's first start with a question. What are soft skills? Anybody? What are soft skills? What's your take on soft skills? It's a silk's job. What the hell? I don't know what that is. Communication between teams, knitting, VMT. I don't think it's knitting. How's it going? Hi, Jimmy. Yeah, so soft skills are, no one's going to jump in, so I'm going to just tell you. If you don't know what they are, and there's probably somebody out there who doesn't know what soft skills are, but seriously, soft skills get defined by all kinds of people differently, right? So soft skills, generally speaking, are personnel skills, communications, mentoring, learning, conflict resolution. And I hate that they call them soft skills. I'm just going to tell you, I do not think that we should. It sounds like they're not important by calling them soft, my dog wants out. Give me 1 second. I got to pause the stream. All right, we're back. And I think I unpaused properly. I hope I did. Anyway. So soft skills, what are they? They're not soft. They're actually things that you should learn. In fact, they're probably more important than some hard skills. Hard skills being, coding, typing,
Personal
lifting.
attributes
Personal, yeah.
that enable someone to
Yep. Yeah.
interact
Have you ever
effectively about something like that.
Yeah. How budget projections, is that a hard skill or a soft skill? I mean, I think that's a math skill. It's like a hard. I don't even know why they have to call it soft. In terms of money, yeah. Anyway, so generally when it comes to assessing skills, I like the system actually that my wife Doris that they use. They use this for the government too. And there's something called skills, knowledge, and abilities, or K. What is it? KSAs, skills, knowledge, and abilities, KNAs or something. So skills are like things that are tasks. Abilities are things that are largely innate that take a lot longer to like change, like leadership and that those kind of things. You're kind of born with them. And if you play Dungeons and Dragons or any kind of role play game, you know that this is a thing, right? There's certain things that you can do because of your race or your class or your upbringing, and then there's other things that you can learn to do through practice and learning, and those are the kind of thing. And then there's just knowledge that you memorize and take in that you just have available to call upon, and that's so. Those are the three main ways of learning, and so we'll talk about that. Skills needed to deliver the project, but it's not technical skills. I think that's those are like abilities and skills. I think they're probably trying to develop your leadership ability as well. So, but the question really here is it a carrot, or are they really thinking about me maybe being a manager someday? And I honestly I can't answer that. I mean, that's conjecture on my part. I have no way of knowing that. Yeah. I'm curious though, when you say skip level, does that mean that your manager's manager is asking you to do this without your manager knowing? You see what I'm saying? Are they like trying to run around your manager? Like, what's going on there? Oh, your manager knows? Okay. All right. Because if that were true, I would be worried. Because you might end up having some kind of like internal local conflict with your team manager, and then you get, y'all know this, right? Actually at work, I have a little story to tell. We're in a situation at work that I won't get into that some technical decisions that are being made may actually take us down a road that could potentially prevent a number of people from being able to participate in the project because they don't currently have the skills to do the direction that we're going, even though they're the ones in charge of maintaining it currently. And that is a political situation at work that nobody's offended and there's no problems here, but that's the kind of soft skill to be thinking about. I mean, it's not always about the technology. Sometimes it's about, and this is why the CTOs make the money, because they're also managing HR needs. And so if you have an entire team that doesn't know whatever the technologies that you want to use, well, no, actually, they're not machine learning experts. No, these are other people actually. And so, they're great. All of the people involved are totally capable of learning anything that they need to learn that are involved. I don't want to, I don't want to, put off this thing. I do like that question, DevOptics. I'm going to put that question in here. And so let me just write this question and I'll return to that topic. Okay, so suffice it to say, you have to be aware of more than technology, and not only for your own personal development, but for your own team's development. And does that mean you should hold your project back and stay in technical debt just because people don't want to learn something? Probably not. I mean, that would describe my entire time at IBM. But, you do need to be open to, I mean, if you're going to pick new technology, then you should include in your project plan whatever is needed to help everybody get on board who wants to be on board. And you might actually be doing some training and helping other people learn the thing. And instead of like hoarding it, and I mean, the opposite of this is to like push the company to go a specific way using technologies that you only know so that you will have job security. And that never, ever works. It never works because they don't want to have just one expert. They want stuff that when they're, the company wants to have something that works, but they also want to have the sustainability of having something that, I mean, I've heard entire companies, changing all architectural direction based on the fact that their workforce, their large existing workforce, didn't know a specific technology, even though that was definitely the best technology for the job. And so those are some tough decisions to make, and soft skills are among them. So should you take it? I don't know. Are you getting more money? Can I ask that? I mean, are you getting experience? Are you, the very fact that your skip level manager is calling you to do those things, I think is a very positive thing. Um, I mean, this might be a chance for you to show them that you're committed, and that increases trust, and trust increases employment, and employment increases money over time. So, you know, as you have to manage a team which is working on a tech which I do not know, I'm not getting more money. Well, I'm not a look. I you know, this is going to sound really crass, and I don't mean it to, but what are you getting out of it? Right? And this goes because you can't say no. It's one of those, you can't say no to it. It's like if you say no to it, they're like, why are you saying no? You can say no. You're a free agent. You just have to live with whatever they tell you, right? It might be like, oh my gosh, they said no. I'm going to put him in a corner next to the bathroom, and he's going to work the rest of his days there. I don't know. Yeah. You're getting better rep with my skip, and maybe get promotion for yours. Okay. Maybe, right? So, I mean, it really depends
Sometimes
on
the
what
grass isn't always greener on the other side.
yeah.
I'd say go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough call and a
Uh-huh.
tough question for you to answer, Rob.
Yeah. I don't know the answer. Everybody's got to make that decision for themselves. Thank you for the follow. I personally am at a stage in my life where I know I can get another job if I need it. So, I'm going to say something that's going to get me in trouble, but what else is new? If it's not in your best interest, don't do it. The end. And I think that, thank you for the follow. I think that we need to be more okay with making decisions that are in our best self-interest. This idea that you owe the company or the team or your coworker something, you can still be a good person and still act in your own best interests. It's not selfish to do that. In fact, no one else is going to do that. If you depend on the beneficence of your company or your manager, even the person who you love, who's a very nice guy or person, a fun woman to work with, like at IBM, it doesn't matter because their hands are going to be tied. And so the only one who is ever going to do anything for you is you. And I know that sounds selfish. It sounds shallow, blah, blah, blah. But I think that that's projecting a lot of 1950s values on it. It's today is a new workplace. Work is, thanks for the follow. Work is an agreement. It's a contractual agreement between you and your employer, and you want to be trustworthy, and you want to be friendly, and you want to be professional, but you don't owe them anything beyond that. And if you, so you, all I'm saying is, and I have, this is particularly for people who may have been raised the way I am, it's okay to act in your own best interests, right? That's okay. I'm giving you permission to do that. Okay. You can act in your own best interests. You're not a bad person for wanting more money. Because you want to meet your own, career objectives. You're not a bad person for not wanting to take on extra responsibility just because it's going to make you look better in the company if you don't need that because you're perfectly happy where you are. And you're not a bad person because you don't support the corporate mission by doing an extra 20 hours of work a week. And by the way, a lot of this stuff, my wife and I were just talking about this, is totally foreign to people like in Germany. In Germany, my wife used a specific anecdote. She said, in Germany, where you get a month off of work, right? In Germany, if you don't go home on time and you don't take your vacation time, somebody's more likely to complain about you because they're going to say, you need, this person is not fulfilling their responsibilities to themselves to be healthy and blah blah blah. Then in America, you're more likely to have people complain because you're not showing dedication to the job over and above what's required by the job requirements. And this is a total disconnect. And my wife has said this many times, is that, when specifically Germans, those are the people she knows. When Germans encounter the work ethic in America, and the friendships that happen at work that are really just weird, and the lack of formality at work with one another, and this obsession with the perception that you're working 90 hours a week, even though you're being paid to work 50 hours a week or whatever, and it's just a disconnect. So I just want to tell you that. In Japan, they're happy if you nap at work because it means you worked hard, so you had to sleep a bit. Yeah. And it depends on the culture, so you kind of have to read the culture. And yeah, job cultures are very different depending on the place you're at. Recently, I was reminded how competitive, I won't say because it'll make me sound racist or culturist, but there's a tendency for me to encounter people that are highly competitive that happen to be from a particular culture. And I don't know all of the factors that are involved in that. I think they're mostly the nature of getting a job in a particular area or something like that. But you kind of have to deal with that, right? Some people are very competitive. Some people are not competitive at all. Some people are really ambitious and they really don't care who they bulldoze through to get to where they want to be. Other people are like concerned about everybody in their circle, and then, they don't get stuff done because they're too worried it's gonna, shake, ruffle feathers. You get all that. And by the way, speaking of soft skills is knowing how to manage that. And those are a lot of decisions that come from being a good person or being whatever, that specific culture says a good person is, versus, reading the room and doing the right thing. So I wish you the best. I don't know if it's a carrot. I don't know if they're going to respect you more. It's one of these things where you think it's going to make you look better in their eyes, but you're kind of going on faith because you really don't know, right? It could be there, so they want to get you to work and do something outside of your normal work environment. The new setup, you like that? Well, there's multiple things that we're doing here. Thank you. What else we got? Culture is based on their belief, yes. All right, let's move on to another question here. We don't need culture to tell us what a good person is. Everyone knows what's right and wrong. Oh, I don't agree with that at all. You can feel it from inside your body. No, I disagree very strongly with that. Homeless. I don't agree with that statement. I've had too many personal experiences with people who have no moral center. There's Mr. Robot says, and don't ever appeal to a man's better nature. They may not have one. Can you make a Q&A's iceberg meme? I could, but yeah, you're so good at doing your job. Everybody asks you to do something, and then you start doing it, and then that's another problem, right? You can get pulled into doing things because you're good at it, and everybody depends on you, and they want you to do it. Thanks for the follow, by the way, and that can end up working against you because you don't have enough time to spend on the things that you've committed to doing. So, and then you have to manage like visibility with your managers and making sure everybody knows what you're doing and you're working hard for the goals of the company, whatever they are. One thing's for sure, if you lose track of what those goals are, ask whoever's over you, whoever your project manager is or whoever your manager is. You should be able to get a good sense of what your priorities are, but particularly if you're a contractor. I feel like I could always do this better, but there's times when you're kind of trying to decide what's more important for me to work on right now. And again, I think this is a soft skill, but it's so important, right? When someone brings two things to you to do, or they don't tell you anything to do, and you're like, well, how do I prioritize? They want you to be independent and prioritize, but at the same time, they may have different priorities that you're not aware of. So if when in doubt, ask. What I think, with a plan, it's always better to come with a plan. I think these are the things that should be covered, and based on the needs of my immediate team, knowing what is driving that, and then have them correct your priorities perhaps, and say, well, we really don't want to spend that much time on that. We want to spend more time on this. So another soft skill. Here's a new question here. So read this and then move on. What is it? This work will not last after November because it's for midterm elections. To me, it sounds like it's worth it. It sounds like you don't have a choice. It's one of those questions where you ask it and you kind of know the answer already. Ask the short circuit those faulty assumptions. Yes. It sometimes happens to me that people brought priorities to me and then talked to my boss and he was like, no, absolutely. Kentone, that is so important. It is so important because, and it's, you need to make sure that you're in sync, right? And it all goes, you don't have to violate, you don't have to throw the other person under the bus either, by the way, right? You don't have to say, hey, so-and-so's a dumb jerk for telling me to do this other thing. What do you think I should do? That's not how you do it, right? You might want to do that way. And I, by the way, I've never had to do that with my current team. And that's not just a disclaimer. My team right now is amazing. And they've checked me on my priorities many, many times. And I've said, well, you might want to go this. That's actually a really positive work environment. I hope everybody gets to experience that, where you're constantly not, overriding each other, but you're challenging each other and you're kind of keeping each other in check and you're kind of being their conscience for them as you go. That is a really remarkable environment to be in if you can get into one. Nothing kills your motivation to excel at work more than bad managers. Yeah. I'll admit that's true. I don't really want to talk about my horrible managers right now, but I definitely could.
Yeah, I don't either. It would be a great conversation. But
yeah. I've said this before, but as the Buddhists say, love your enemies because they teach you what you don't want to be, or what you see the contrast in them, if nothing else. So it's hard to do, but yeah, I'd rather not. What did you say? I started to write Confluence pages to get my department aligned and to know the direction. That's kind of nice. I'm in the middle of a presentation. My wife seems the requirement to interrupt me for 1 second. Okay, back to our regular scheduled programming. Your wife has a sixth sense for interrupting when I'm trying to do something. This is my stepson this time. This is my wife like 5 minutes before that, and my dog before that. So, what was it? Okay, so let's move on. That was a big question. I'm glad we talked about it. And that, we burned up like 15, 20 minutes on that. And I think that's really good that we did that. Next question. What's the difference between a software engineer and a software developer? Anybody want to try? Matt, you want to try? Anyone want to try that one? What's the difference between a software engineer and a software developer? VMT says, oh, that's easy. Software engineers, quote, engineers don't exist. Marketing fluff, admin versus creating. It depends on the country. All right, explain. Engineer handles the moving parts. It's a title only. Engineer is more technical.
the software engineers work on a larger scale
Okay.
for designing and developing.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I do think that the term software engineer does apply to a specific type of profession. I just don't think that it's applied accurately, personally. The origin of the term software engineer turns out to be an engineer at NASA who was a software developer who wanted to be considered more important because software was not viewed at the time as significant as the other engineering areas, I guess. And so they started calling themselves a software engineer after that. And it stuck. It stuck. That is the origin of the term. And I will say, we talked about this before, and we've had people from Canada. Anybody here from Canada? Yeah, it can be no difference at all. Yeah. Engineering is when you define structures. Technician is when you implement them. Interesting. Software makes the engineer job easier. So I've heard from Canadians who have reported from here that I can have it now. Yes. Okay, my stepson made me some grog. What is grog? We're gonna put that in a list of questions and answers. Close my door, please. Thank you. It's his birthday today. For his birthday, he wanted to make grog. What is grog? We'll put that on the list. We'll cover that later. It'll be a great... Grog is poison for pirates. Yeah, you know where the term limey came from? Okay, we'll get there. We'll get there, I promise. We're talking about software engineers right now. It also looks like I have like moonshine, which it is not. To make water safe, exactly. Oh, do we have to go there already? I mean, we got that kind of interrupted. Happy birthday, yes. In Canada to have... okay, let's read this. So Tech at Scale says, this is very important. In Canada, to have an engineer title requires a P.Eng designation, if I remember correctly. Yes. Okay, so according to the Canadians who have participated in these conversations, they have told us you are not legally allowed to call yourself an engineer in any way unless you have achieved a certain level of diploma through any number of the accredited colleges or something. So you can't even call yourself an engineer. It's illegal. And I actually tend to agree with that. I on the extreme side of this, so Linus Torvalds, who invented Linux, blah, 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 has gone so far very insultingly to say that anyone doing web development can't even call themselves a developer. And I feel like that's too far. But if you're doing most web development, in my opinion, you're not a software engineer. An engineer is responsible for many more moving parts. So perhaps if you're architecting a very complex, application using React with multiple components and Redux and all that kind of stuff, I think that calling yourself a software engineer at that point, you got back end involved with it as well. I think the software engineer title at that point is more applicable. I personally would even prefer that the engineer role have more to do with hardware integration and things like that. Thank you. I'll get right to it. I'm in the middle of a thing. I can't keep getting interrupted. So developers. Yes. Microsoft themselves is all about developers, and I don't see why the term software developer has become pejorative in comparison to software engineer. It's like I don't understand that. There's nothing wrong with being a software developer if it's a more accurate title, like Sober at Electron. So that's my take on it. I joke inappropriately about this all the time. Web developers. Believe me, I was a web developer, and I get it. But I mean, if you're writing HTML and CSS mostly, and even if you're doing Tailwind and you're writing a little bit of CSS and you're writing mostly vanilla JavaScript, and if you call yourself a software engineer, I think you're wrong. There, I said it. I just owned it. I owned it. I think you're wrong. I don't think you're a software engineer. I think you're a software developer, and you're very skilled and talented, and you should get paid great money, and you should live a long and happy life. I don't care about any of that. You're not a software engineer. You're not a software engineer. in my opinion. And now people who take me to task over this particular thing love to trot out the definition of engineer usually, which is really broad, right? What is the formal definition of engineer? It's like somebody who engineers things, right? I mean, by that definition, kids with Lincoln Logs are engineers. Nobody knows Lincoln Logs. It's lost on them. So anyway, so that's how I feel about that. You call yourself what you want. When you're doing a search for jobs, you have to search for software engineers in addition to developer. There's really no way to get around
Lincoln
that.
Logs. I was thinking Connect.
Connects. Connects is the modern, yes, a Lego engineer. You've actually met a Lego engineer? I mean, yeah, putting Legos together is actually closer to the engineering title than, HTML web developers. Seem to be a lot more interested about the title than blue collar people. Yeah, that's probably fair. That's fair. I think it's very fair. All right, next question. Unless you guys are done with this, anybody else have anything else to say? Let's see. What if IT take over the software and engineers? AI or IT take over software engineer? You're a guest in Discord. Yes, you are. Yeah, well, it's time to get out of the damn house. So chop chop. No, it's not. It's not time yet. We have to go 30 more minutes. This is this is our thing. Jalopy wants us to go IRL streaming tonight, which we're gonna do later. But this is question and answer period, my dude. Yeah, you're a little bit early. I think. Did I get that right? I mean, I could be wrong. Yesterday I thought it was Friday, so you let me know. I think you could call a Lego engineer to the guy that designs the piece and does the whole set so it works for the kiddos. Yeah. Engineer. It's like Elliot and Tyrell. It is kind of like Elliot and Tyrell. All right, next question. Can you get a job? I think you means like anyone, right? So, can you get a job if you only know Golang? If not, what other requirements are recommended? Well, I've kind of answered this one quite a bit, actually. So I'm going to defer to what I've put in the chat. And if you actually type ! Learn, you'll see the stuff you should learn. This is my answer. Number 1, learn to learn like a hacker. Number 2, learn Linux terminal. Number 3, learn Vim editing with Unix filters. Number 4, learn Bash scripting. Number 5, learn Go programming. Number 6, learn Markdown and Pandoc. Number 7, learn Git and GitHub. 8, learn minimal web publishing. 9, learn Docker containers. 10, learn text-based searches. 11, learn C. 12, learn Python. 13, Perl. 14, Kubernetes. I probably changed some of those now. That's an old thing that I watch. Yes. And so that's my recommendation. So those would be the things to learn. I think learning to learn like a hacker is the most important thing. If you don't know what that means, I actually cover that in the boost. So if you don't know about the boost, the plug for the boost, I do it every night. The boost is Sundays 2 to 6 p.m. my time, Eastern time, and we go over what it takes to enter into the field of operations and hacking and kind of terminal-based hacking, back-end kind of things, and the minimal front-end stuff. So we do cover that, and I go over what it means to learn like a hacker in there. Bottom line, it just means that you think on your own, you deconstruct problems, you are able to kind of think outside the box. This is why hackers are so good at what they do, because they've had to learn to look at a thing and try to think of all the ways they can use that thing in ways that it wasn't designed to be used. And that takes a very creative, internally driven learning process and exploration and breaking things and then fixing them again, literally, in order to figure it out. And that mentality, that mindset, is a core part of being an IT professional today. Whether you're doing, web development or whatever else, learning to learn like a hacker and think like a hacker and a critical thinker, whatever you want to call it, is a big part of that. And that means, returning to your roots, when you used to be a creative child, learning and exploring and burning ants to see what happens and all those other fun things we did just for experimentation purposes. And that's probably the biggest thing that you need to do, in addition to learning how to code in any particular language. People ask me about, oh, I learned Go, so now what? And it's not, I don't think it's inaccurate to say that's like asking, I learned how to use a bandsaw, now what? Because it's just a tool. It's just a tool, right? People focus so much. Right. I changed my brakes. Now what? Exactly. It's just a tool. It's just one thing. It's like, and I don't know where this comes from. We do talk about this in the boost, but I think that it's not, I don't think people are to blame a lot for this. I think brake torque burnout, that's the appropriate answer. Okay. So, you've got to get out of this repressed learning mindset where you've been told to sit there and learn and don't talk and, don't experiment, just do what you're told and regurgitate, banker style education, as Paulo Freire calls it. And you've got to break out of that. And I talk about this all the time, but you can't do that. Tutorial hell, right? And so tutorial hell happens to people because they are so used to people. I think first of all, I think as Sir Ken Robinson would suggest that, our creativity has been beaten out of us. Those are his words. And so, we're not allowed to think for ourselves. And as soon as we do that, we get in trouble. So, part of this thinking, like, oh, I learned Go, now what? Give me the recipe kind of thing. What do I need to, how do I pass the test? Teacher, how am I going to get an A on this test? What's going to be on the test? Tell me exactly what I need to study so it'll be on the test. This entire, idea is just flawed. And if you don't believe me, watch Rick and Morty. I've recently discovered Rick and Morty. I've never seen it. And I'm on like episode 4 or 5. And Rick is constantly taking stabs at education, at traditional education, how broken it is. I love it. Because this is what gets you into this skill set that even asks the question, I learned Go, now what? Right? And I'm not picking on the person who asked that question, I promise. It's the mentality that's been injected into all of us that says, yeah, exactly. We've been injected with this mentality that this is the way we learn. It's this antagonistic relationship between me and the teacher, and it's like me versus the teacher and against every student in the room so I can get a better grade. And that is not conducive to actual learning, which is a primary theme of Rick and Morty, which is why I love it so much. That is not how learning happens. So the question, can I get a job if I only learn Go? The question itself is kind of misguided. And I'm not attacking you for asking the question. It's like, well, what if I just learn Go? Is it going to give me a job? As I've said before, getting a job is about creating trust between you and a potential employer. That means they're going to trust you to produce value for the company, whatever that is. And the only way you can answer the question about whether learning Golang is enough and what else you should learn is to target a company or 2 or 10 or a subsection of an industry and say, what does this industry think is valuable? How am I going to create value? And like, well, they need, microservices. They got to they have to manage a bunch of, microservices and requests and things like that. And it just so happens that Golang is the language for microservices and cloud native infrastructure. It's just one piece of it, right? You're not learning Go so you're going to go code it, They want trust, and so you got to you might have to be able to do like leet code if you're coding a certain Go job depending on the job, right? But you really, at this point when you ask the question, you really don't know what you're trying to do, so you don't even really know. But if you go over here, and you're like, well, I just need to put together this thing so that it has this utility, then you didn't need to know leet code at all to go with your Go. right? So somebody might blindly answer this question, what other requirements are recommended, and say, oh, you should do a lot of leak code. But I think that would be a disservice to you, because that's not putting you in the mindset where you're asking yourself, what the F am I going to be doing for a potential employer to produce value? Because that's what they're paying you for. And, you need to think about that, and you need to start thinking about that. And then you need to decide whether, a ball peen hammer or a claw hammer is going to be better for that specific job, depending on the job. And it's very much like that. If you were to become a carpenter, it's like, what kind of carpenter? Are you going to be putting up crown molding? Are you going to be, setting up, skateboard ramps? Are you going to, what is your carpentry going to be? Are you going to be hanging cabinets? Any number of those particular types of things that you're doing are all carpentry, and they all have different tools, and you're not going to be able to zoom in on the tools. Golang is just one tiny tool. So you have to be able to identify the area that you're going for, and then find out what the tools are for that profession. So I hope that helps you reset your sights a little bit, because if you're, should I learn Rust or Go? I get that question all the time. Angle grinder with diamond disk. Yeah. Exactly. So, yeah, labor talks ahead and possibly splashing courses. If you're just trying to just pick a language based on how much money Golang programmers make and that kind of thing, you that can help you. But then, you can totally go about it the opposite way. You say, like, I love using ball peen hammers so much. Oh, how about this one? And this is true for me. I love using miter saws and nail guns. Oh my gosh, I love them. Right? I love using miter saws and nail guns so much that I would be, okay, what jobs allow me to use a miter saw and a nail gun? And that's a totally fair approach. That's a totally fair approach. You could love Golang so much as a tool that you could ask yourself, ooh, who uses Golang? What jobs use this amazing tool? And let me see what those jobs are. And then you can go find those jobs, and you can target those jobs because you love using that tool so much. Maybe you were really obsessed with arc welding. Well, what jobs allow me to use arc welding? Okay, well, there's underwater welders. There's there's a million things that you could do, right? Half of companies to lay off people. Survey suggests. Interesting. Yeah, we'll have to go talk about that one. Risk of the economy downturn. Yes. Yeah, I'm actually concerned. Let's talk about this question right here about getting a job and having a job. So, what is the question there, by the way? So, somebody posted a thing about losing jobs, and I'm gonna talk about this one. What time is it? We have 20 minutes. When I have to choose questions, some of the more important ones I'm gonna keep. I like doing phone ones too, but I'm gonna put a related link on this. Give me 1 second, because somebody gave us a nice URL that posts to this, and then I'll repeat the question. And this is an important question, and so. Okay, so there's an article in the New York Post that says half of companies are going to lay off people. A survey suggests more than half of the United States economies are planning to U.S. companies are planning to lay off employees as they brace for an economic downturn, according to a new survey. The Price Waterhouse survey, Cooper's survey, suggested that polled 700 executives and board members from across the U.S. found 52% of the companies have already enacted hiring freezes. Four out of 10 have rescinded jobs or axed signing bonuses for new hires, and roughly half started laying off people and are preparing for a headcount. And this is a very real thing right now, so I want to talk about that. I don't know what the question is there, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about this we have 20 minutes left. And there are some fun questions here from before that I will put to the next day. I don't want to give up what those are. It sounds like we're going to be serious today, so let's just keep it serious. These are very important questions, and actually I am also interested in the answers to these questions because I feel it too. I'm a contractor. And there's kind of a law about contractors in the IT world. The contractors are the first people to get cut. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons companies hire contractors is to allow liquidity in their workforce so that they can chop heads without, getting rid of their core people. And I am one of those. I am currently employed at Tech Systems, and I love my job and my deployment. My manager tells me all the time that I'm doing good things, and that very, very happy with my performance and contributions. And I've produced, I feel like I produced a lot of value for my current employer, including writing their K-login script for the entire group, and being a participant on these APIs, and lots of things that I feel like have value that also require expertise that I bring to the team that is only starting in some of our other team members. And I've been very forthright with helping others get that experience as well. But when the economy gets bad, this is something I learned at IBM. It happened twice at IBM, and I don't know if IBM is indicative of other companies, but at IBM, when the executive order came down, and I've talked about this before, they axed people seemingly, I don't know for sure, based on how much money they made, and that was it. And I mean, I remember good people that have been there forever. One of whom in particular that I remember, who was acquired from a petroleum company way back when, and had been making this exorbitant salary that he wasn't worth it. I mean, I'm just going to say it. If you're out there, I'm super sorry if you know who it is. This person was nowhere near worth the money that they were making, which sort of kind of leaked out eventually. And I mean, I won't say I was happy that he was gone, but the fact that he got the axe because he was so exorbitantly expensive versus me, who was exorbitantly underpaid, that's the nature of business. And at a certain point, it doesn't matter how much your manager likes you. It doesn't matter how well you perform for the team. There's an executive decree that everybody with a salary above an X amount or whatever is going to end up getting axed. And every company's different, but that's happening a lot right now. It's happening a lot in Silicon Valley. I will say this, though. I don't know how much I can say about this because I probably will dox myself. But the company that I worked for, amidst all of this Silicon Valley crap that's going on, I'm just like folding my arms and like going, And I'm reading the CFO from the company that I work for right now put out a statement saying they've seen their strongest earnings ever. The company is fantastically on track. They actually had 20 they had 20 billion in revenue last year. 20 billion in revenue. Think about that for a second. I love my company. I love the company I'm working for. I am not telling you, please don't guess. And Silicon Valley companies brag about how awesome they are, and they play over exorbitant salaries over at Netflix and stuff like that. And they struggle and they're axing people and everything. But I want to tell you the reason that the reason that I am at this company above all the other ones that I'm so happy is because the company that I'm at has a very solid product, a product that will not come and go with the digital whims of Silicon Valley, a product that will be around all the time. And so I will say this to those of you that are worried about losing your job or moving around. If you want to be secure, maybe look outside of, Silicon Valley. Maybe look at companies that are more conservative, that might not be as sexy. At least you think they're not sexy until you get inside of the company and you realize, oh my God, it's very sexy in here, but nobody knew because they're hiding it from everybody. So the moral of the story is this. Do not rule out unsexy companies when you're doing your interviewing. Yeah, exactly. The rest is pretty easy. Yeah, plumbing. There are certain things that are going to be in demand all the time. So while the economy is kind of, on the ropes right now, it does concern me because if there was to come such a thing, I would be the first person cut. And it might not have anything to do with, I have a feeling I'm one of the more expensive people on the team, unfortunately, because of my seniority and my, my veteran status and everything. I have a pretty big price tag. They're paying a pretty big price tag for me. And so, yeah, that does make me concerned. I mean, but here's the thing. If your tools are sharp, my friends, if your tools are sharp, you don't need to worry. You really don't. Especially in IT. If your tools are sharp and you learn how to be a prescient technology professional, that means being able to read the tea leaves and see what technology is going to make it big. Like really big, like sustainably big, not some trend like CoffeeScript or Rust. Sorry, I had to. And, but you can actually see the stuff that you need to invest your mind share. That's my word. Then a bit of context in this video. But I don't know if I need to do that. Let's see. Your work on the side is decent. You can take time off and back. Yeah. In construction, it's the exact opposite. If your tools are sharp, you better be careful. You lose a finger. Exactly. But the point is that, there's always going to be a need for IT professionals. It's just that the industry is shifting around. So it's up to you to decide where you want to invest. Now, all those people who jumped ship and went for, double the salary for these fintech companies who are now reeling and complaining because their companies are at risk, their jobs are at risk, even though they've made, double their normal value for the last 2 years. I got to tell you, I'm like, a little bit, because they were chasing the dollars. They were chasing the money, and that's their prerogative. They can do that. But those of us who have made a safer investment in blue chip companies, we are going to benefit from that. We'll talk about that. It's not Rust hate. It's kind of a joke. I don't hate Rust. I just find it irrelevant. That's all. So you finish your master's in CS, and I feel the business is all over the place, kind of closer. Yeah, I mean, people, they want all kinds of things. There's always going to be a demand for IT stuff, and I think that's a big part of it. So my answer to this concern about all these companies laying people off is make sure you have value. Make sure you can produce trust with your employer, whether it's your current employer or potentially a new one. And if you can, you don't need to be worried. You really don't. You don't need. I'm not worried. I worry about the change happening in a way that's. Can I tell you something financially? It's a piece of advice. So advice is in the title, so I'm going to go ahead and go there. I think that everybody should keep at least a year of money on hand. And that's not me saying that. There's a lot of financial advisors who tell you the same thing. Cash. And if I'm not talking about, not using credit cards or all the other things that financial advisors will tell you. What I'm telling you is save while you can. If you're still employed right now, you're not unemployed, you should work to save enough money so that you could meet your baseline expenses in an apartment if you had to change homes. I mean, I'm going to pick on Gamozo a little bit because he was saying he couldn't survive on $185K a year because his mortgage is too high. But you see what I'm saying? It's like, so imagine what the minimum amount of apartment you would need to live in is. In my case, it would be $1,200 a month or something like that. And my wife is...
Will you be wanting a burger?
Yes.
Will you be wanting it lettuce wrapped?
No.
You want it on a killer bun?
Yes.
Superfood seeds.
Where'd you get that shirt?
Well, a while ago. I don't think I ever wore it.
My wife has walked in during our YouTube video.
I let it air dry with a shit ton of leave-in clothes.
It's fantastic. Now you're forever on YouTube. This is a part of my YouTube video. Hi.
Old gray couples.
Yes. We were talking about how to survive. Okay, what is your opinion on this? My wife, I'll ask her. What? So more than half of all U.S. companies are planning layoffs, according to a Pricewaterhouse survey. 700 executives and board members across the U.S., 52%.
I gotta read it. You're reading so fast. I can't.
All right, read it. Cheers.
Grog.
Grog. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Boy off the screen. What?
Well, I what pisses me off is I bet not one CEO took a price cut.
Not one CEO took a price cut?
Yeah. When you see how much money they're making, they could literally raise everybody's
Salary.
Yeah. That one tech guy who did the 70 thing where he only took 70,000 and he's just like left the position because he's got another stick.
The dog has
another
another
stick. I
stick.
remember when Sam had a collection of sticks by the door.
He can't get rid of
He
his
was
stick.
like, "This
Poor
stick's so
kid.
big." I'm sorry, I'm ruining your video.
No, you're not ruining my video. You're providing context.
Remember
We're
when
answering
Sam-
question. Okay, let's answer the question. What is grog? It's on the question.
Sam used to bring all her
Otto, come here. I'm going to turn you up.
home with a stick.
Okay, we're going to move to another happier question right now.
What is grog?
This is a question and answer time. The last question of the evening is, what is grog? And would you like to join us on stream here?
No,
And we got the legit. You should bring in the bottle.
I will bring.
Now for a
They
commercial.
said grog is rum and stuff.
Yes.
Grog is rum and stuff and stuff.
Do you want them to know what it is?
Yeah, that's we
It
got.
is-
It's like they want to know.
It is. Well, Yada, do you want
Oh.
to tell them what it is? It is rum.
It's rum, lime, sugar, and water.
Yep, that's it. So it's like almost a margarita.
Rum, lime, sugar, and water.
Yes. And that was the Navy one we looked up. So he was happy. 'Cause we were
And the
trying to
term
legit-
limeys came from
because putting the lime in the grog.
what? Where did the term limeys come from?
The sailors.
And where did
Civil War,
this song
right?
come from? What do you do with the drunken sailor?
Also
What do you
sailors.
do with the drunken sailor? That's because they were not drinking grog.
Yes, it's because
That's,
they were.
that's
drinking
why
hard
grog came
rum.
to be.
Because they were getting drunk too easy.
Yes. That's why I didn't put that in the shirt.
They all saw your navel. Terms of service, Doris.
How's your
Terms of service,
how's your
Doris.
grog, by the way, Rob?
My grog is very nice.
I've refined the.
What you
recipe.
have? You have navels there, or you have grog there? You put the lime in the coconut and wash it all down. Former employees have been calling him out on Twitter for over a year. Surprised new NYT finally picked up on it. New York Times. Ooh. I believe English sailors were given a ration of grog.
Yes.
This is true. We just watched a whole thing on it.
Yes.
And we're like all about the grog now. It seems rather bland, actually. But apparently it prevents scurvy. It prevents scurvy, I'm told.
Yeah.
I can mix you more to your style.
I made mine light.
You just put like
That's
two
light
two
to it.
fingers of vodka in it. Is that what you're saying?
No, the rum. Oh. Did you see the vodka we bought?
The thing, okay, so vodka doesn't
You
have as
actually
much
put-
sugar as rum. Rum has more sugar.
Yeah, but you put so little rum into the grog that it's mostly water.
I got you vodka.
Oh my God!
It's organic.
What a great wife. This channel, they're gonna think all we do is drink.
No. It's a birthday party.
Okay.
It's organic
Okay.
and it's farm crafted.
It's also
By the
Friday.
way,
It's also Friday.
And it's gluten free, crafted in Minnesota, with no pesticides, single vintage organic corn.
That's why I bought it. That was the
It's
selling
built to
point.
taste.
Gluten free.
Yep. Soft on the palate with a smooth and bright finish.
By the way, try this one. This one's my edited version, so you can.
Your
tell me
edited version
if
of
it's
grog.
better.
Okay, the question is, what is grog?
Hey, look. Buy America.
There's no vodka in
USA.
grog unless
No, it's
unless
the
I
rum.
make
It was
it.
the presser's rum.
I will need.
Sam,
that.
you want some? Here, have some grog.
No. Why
Have
do
some
we-
grog.
No.
She's like, no, get that away from me.
By the way, we got water.
We got water. Wow,
Oh, wait.
that's more punchy.
All right, I'll cook you your hamburger.
You're gonna make me a hamburger?
So, this is this. You can
There's
have
no
different
vodka in grog.
styles of grog.
Tito's vodka? I haven't tried Tito. I haven't tried Tito's. I'm gonna type that next. All right, my friends. I think we're done for tonight. It is Friday, after all. So let me turn down the mic so I don't blow your ears out. I had to do that so I can pick up on my rather. You made it in Austin? Wow. Okay. I'll have to look into that. Thank you so much for all being here. This has been a great time. Matt, you've been very patient. Appreciate you being patient with me.
Yep. We'll see you later, Rob.
Okay,
Thanks for having me.
I know we'll see where we go. I don't know if we're gonna go out
Yeah.
anywhere tonight. We'll figure it out. No needs there. In case anybody else is wondering, I do IRL streaming. Sometimes I go pub hopping. Sometimes I crash on my skateboard. Whatever. You have to come on Twitch for that. I don't put that on YouTube usually, for good reasons. Bye. Okay, so say goodbye to our YouTube people. Bye, YouTube people. Stop recording. Ready? Stop.